Hey guys, welcome back to another TV show review. So today, I just finished watching the first season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Now before I start talking about this show, if y'all don't know what this show is, this is a brand new animated Spider-Man show that's basically set in an alternate timeline away from the MCU. Not only that, but this show is also a retelling of the Spider-Man origin story, and this show also takes place around the time of Captain America's Civil War, where instead of Peter meeting Tony Stark, he meets Norman Osborn. So in a way, it's basically like what if the MCU had full control of the Spider-Man character instead of Sony? I'm not gonna lie, when this show first got announced, I was actually kind of disappointed because I originally thought that this was gonna be an origin story for Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU. And going into this show, I had zero expectations, but guys, now that I just wrapped up watching the first season of the show, I am very happy to report that Marvel absolutely cooked with this show. This show has given us such a unique and refreshing take on the Spider-Man character, and this show is easily one of the best Spider-Man shows I've ever seen in my entire life. Not just that, but it's also one of the best Spider-Man projects I've ever seen in such a long time. There is so much to process here, so let's break down the best and worst parts of the series. The first positive for this show is the animation and art style. I'm not gonna lie, the animation did look weird to me at first, but as the show progressed, it actually grew on me and I absolutely dig it. And the art style of the show feels like you're watching a comic book come to life on the screen, and it just looks absolutely good. Overall, I absolutely dug both the animation and art style of the show. Another positive for this show is the intro. This show has given us such an awesome intro, and trust me when I say this, but it will live rent-free in your head for weeks. And what makes the intro to this show even cooler is that it actually pays homage to every single Spider-Man comic book panel in each episode. Overall, I absolutely love the intro to this show. Another positive for this show is the characters. This show has a lot of cool characters, and the way they develop them is absolutely good. The way they portray this version of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is so cool, and Hudson Thames absolutely kills it as the voice of the character. This show also really has other cool characters like Harry Osborn, Nico Minoru, Aunt May, Norman Osborn, etc. But my favorite character in the whole entire show by far is Lonnie Lincoln, aka Tombstone. This character had such an incredible arc in the show, and the way we see him go from this football player to a leader of a gang is just absolutely tragic to see. And even though we don't actually see him fully turn into the villain Tombstone, you can honestly tell that he is slowly starting to turn into his gray self after he just inhaled that gas that gave him powers. Overall, I thought all of the characters, especially Lonnie Lincoln, were all pretty cool. And since I mentioned Norman Osborn, let's circle back to him because another positive for the show is the way they developed this character. This show actually managed to stay true to this character, and he may be Peter's mentor, but he is not like Tony Stark. Unlike Tony Stark, he is manipulative, and he is definitely untrustworthy. And I would like to give a huge shout out to Coleman Domingo because he was absolutely tremendous as the voice of the character, and I am fully convinced that he can play a great Norman Osborn in the MCU. Overall, I absolutely loved Norman Osborn's story in the show. Another positive for this show is the use of the classic Spider-Man villains. Some of the street level Spider-Man villains that were in the show were really cool villains, especially Doc Ock and Scorpion. And speaking of Scorpion, dude was an absolute menace. Overall, I enjoyed seeing some of the street level Spider-Man villains in this show. Another positive for this show is the cameos. I thought the cameos in this show actually served the story pretty well, and it was really cool seeing Doctor Strange in the show, but seeing Daredevil in the show was just absolutely great to see. Overall, I really enjoyed seeing some of the cameos in this show. And the final positive for this show is the ending. The ending to this show was absolutely crazy, and the way they are setting up so much stuff for the next season is absolutely brilliant. Like the way I just found out that Peter's dad was alive in the finale was just absolutely shocking to me, and I wonder if he's gonna play a prominent role in the next season. And the way they just set up Doc Ock getting his octopus arms is absolutely crazy. Overall, I thought the ending to this show was absolutely shocking. Now, on to the negatives. I don't have a lot, but one negative I did have with this show is that some of the other villains outside of Doc Ock and Scorpion just didn't really need to be in the show at all. Some of the other lesser known street level Spider Man villains that were in the show just weren't utilized enough, and I just didn't feel like they needed to be included in this show. Overall, I did feel like they could have taken some of the other lesser known Spider Man villains out of this show. Overall, I had a really great time with this show, and this show was not only one of the best Spider Man shows ever made, but one of the best Spider Man projects I've ever seen in my entire life, and I am just salivating for more seasons of this show, and the rating I would give for this is a solid 9 out of 10. But anyways, yeah, that's my review of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and thank you for watching. If you want to see more reviews like this, follow me for more. Peace out.